What if the most mysterious Trump isn't Donald, but his youngest son, Barron? While his father and siblings thrive in the spotlight, Barron has stayed in the shadows. He's taller than his dad, more private than his family, and rarely speaks in public. But something happened recently that has everybody talking. Why is everyone so obsessed with him? Is he quietly preparing for a big move, or will he vanish from public life entirely? Let's dive into the untold story of Barron Trump. Born on March 20th, 2006, Barron William Trump is the only child of Donald Trump and Melania Trump. Unlike his older half-siblings, who have been prominent public figures in politics and business, Barron has taken a different approach. Even during his father's presidency, he made very few public appearances, and to this day there are only a handful of interviews where his name has even been mentioned. But despite this, people remain curious. Who is Barron Trump? What kind of life does he lead? And what do we actually know about him? One of the first things that has captured public fascination is Barron's striking height. At just 18 years old, he towers over his father, who is 6 feet 3 inches tall. Reports suggest Barron stands at an incredible 6 feet 7 inches or possibly even taller. Every time he makes a rare public appearance, social media erupts with amazement at his stature, with some jokingly calling him a real-life giant. But his height isn't the only thing that makes him stand out. Unlike his father, who thrives in the spotlight, Barron seems to have inherited a more reserved nature, much like his mother, Melania. Melania Trump has always been highly protective of her son, shielding him from unnecessary media attention. In one of the few interviews where she spoke about Barron, she described him as a very strong-minded, independent, and intelligent young man. She emphasized that, despite growing up in extreme privilege, he is grounded and has a deep sense of awareness about the world around him. According to Melania, Barron is very much his own person, someone who thinks for himself and doesn't feel the need to constantly seek public approval. His upbringing has been a blend of cultures shaped not only by his father's American heritage but also by his mother's Slovenian roots. He is fluent in English and Slovenian, a skill that allowed him to communicate effortlessly with his maternal grandparents, who were a strong presence in his life while he was growing up. This multilingual ability isn't surprising, given Melania's insistence on keeping him connected to her homeland's traditions. Despite being raised in one of the most famous families in the world, Barron's childhood was relatively private compared to other presidential children. While Malia and Sasha Obama were often seen accompanying their parents at official events, Barron was rarely photographed at public gatherings. Even when he did attend significant events, such as his father's inauguration in 2017, he remained quiet and composed, standing alongside his mother with a demeanor that set him apart from his more outspoken family members. His education has also been a point of interest. Barron initially attended Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School in New York City before moving to Washington, D.C., where he became the first presidential child to attend St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Maryland. Later, when the Trump family relocated to Florida, he enrolled at Oxbridge Academy, an elite private school known for its rigorous academic programs. What's even more intriguing is how his peers perceive him. Many of his classmates describe him as somewhat of a mystery. Unlike other students who freely interact and form large social circles, Barron is known for keeping to himself. Some have said he follows a unique daily routine, with strict security protocols that set him apart from the rest of the students. For instance, there were reports that he had his own private lunch arrangements, separate from the general cafeteria. While these measures are understandable given his family's status, they added to the intrigue surrounding him. Even teachers and staff members at his former schools have shared similar observations, noting that while he is polite and intelligent, he isn't the type to openly seek attention. This is in stark contrast to his older siblings, who have always embraced public life. Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump have all taken active roles in business and politics, frequently making media appearances and engaging with the press. In contrast, Barron remains the family's most elusive member. His reserved nature has led many to wonder, what is Barron Trump really like? While there are very few first-hand accounts, those who have interacted with him describe him as well-spoken and sharp. According to a tailor who worked with him, Barron is exceptionally bright, often asking insightful questions and showing an understanding of complex topics well beyond his years. His ability to converse intelligently on a wide range of subjects surprised many who expected him to be just another wealthy teenager detached from reality. Despite his reluctance to engage publicly, Barron has occasionally been spotted attending events with his father. Most recently, he appeared at Donald Trump's campaign rally, sparking renewed speculation about whether he might eventually step into the political arena. While he has never explicitly expressed an interest in politics, his presence at key events suggests he may at least be paying attention. As Barron turns 18 and steps into adulthood, many are curious about his next move. Will he follow his father's footsteps into business or politics, or will he carve out his own unique path? Unlike his older siblings, he hasn't been actively involved in public-facing roles, but that doesn't mean he isn't planning something entirely different behind the scenes. While Barron Trump has always been a subject of curiosity due to his famous last name, his personality and daily life remain somewhat of a mystery. Unlike many high-profile children who embrace the spotlight, Barron has done the opposite, staying out of it as much as possible. But despite his preference for privacy, glimpses of his life occasionally make their way to the public, offering a rare insight into the youngest Trump's world. Melania Trump, who has fiercely guarded her son's personal life, has occasionally provided brief details about his character and habits. She describes him as intelligent, independent, and deeply observant. In an interview, she mentioned that Barron is not someone who seeks attention, but is highly aware of the world around him. She takes pride in the fact that he has grown up to be a young man with a strong sense of self and does not rely on external validation. His intelligence and confidence have been noted by those who have interacted with him. One of the few people who have spoken publicly about Barron is his tailor, who described him as super bright, well beyond his years in terms of experience and knowledge. Unlike many his age, he is said to have an unusually mature presence, showing a deep understanding of various topics. Even in casual interactions, those who have met him say he carries himself with an air of quiet confidence, something that sets him apart from the typical teenage celebrity. Despite being raised in immense privilege, there is little evidence to suggest that Barron exhibits the entitlement often associated with wealthy heirs. Instead, those who have observed him describe him as someone who is respectful, well-mannered, and polite, yet somewhat reserved. This is in contrast to his father, who is known for his larger-than-life personality and commanding public presence. His quiet nature does not mean he lacks opinions. According to reports, Barron is highly knowledgeable about business and politics, an interest that comes as no surprise given his family's background. His mother has mentioned that he understands current events well and often has insightful discussions about political matters. However, unlike his siblings who have actively supported their father's political campaigns, Barron has yet to take on a public role in this area. One of the most interesting aspects of Barron's life is the way he navigates social settings. Those who have attended school with him describe him as very mysterious. While many students at Oxbridge Academy were curious about him, he was known for keeping a distance and maintaining a small social circle. Some classmates noted that he follows a strict routine and does not spend much time in public areas within the school. This level of privacy is unusual for someone his age, but given his status, it is understandable. His school environment was carefully managed to accommodate his unique position as the son of a former president. Reports suggest that his daily activities were carefully planned, and security protocols were in place to ensure his safety. Unlike other students, he was often accompanied by Secret Service agents, which naturally set him apart. This level of security extended beyond school, influencing even the most routine parts of his day. Lunch, for example, was reportedly different for Barron compared to his classmates. Some accounts suggest that he had a separate meal arrangement, away from the general student population. While this might seem unusual, it aligns with the kind of security measures that children of high-profile figures often experience. Whether these arrangements were due to security concerns or personal preference remains unknown, but it only added to the sense of mystery surrounding him. Despite these differences, Barron was not treated as an outcast. Many who interacted with him described him as approachable, though selective with his conversations. He was never known to be arrogant or dismissive, but he did maintain a level of detachment that distinguished him from other students. His reserved demeanor meant that very few people outside of his close circle truly got to know him. This controlled and private upbringing has led many to speculate about Barron's future. Will he eventually step into a public role like his father and siblings, or will he continue to stay away from the spotlight? Unlike his siblings, who were exposed to media attention from an early age, Barron's formative years were carefully managed to minimize public exposure. However, as he transitions into adulthood, maintaining this level of privacy might become increasingly difficult. The world caught a rare glimpse of Barron during his father's campaign rally, where he made a public appearance. While he did not speak, his presence alone sparked renewed discussions about his role in the Trump family's future. With his 18th birthday marking his official entry into adulthood, many wonder if he will eventually take on more public responsibilities. While Melania Trump has always emphasized that she wants her son to forge his own path, there is no denying that the Trump name carries significant influence. Whether he chooses to pursue business, politics, or an entirely different field, the expectations surrounding him will likely follow him for years to come. Even if he decides to maintain his private nature, public interest in him is unlikely to fade anytime soon. As Barron Trump moves further into adulthood, the fascination surrounding him only continues to grow. While he has always remained in the background of his father's political career, his presence is becoming increasingly noticeable. The rarity of his public appearances has only fueled curiosity, with many wondering whether he will eventually step into the political or business world, following the path of his father and older siblings. But for now, Barron appears to be navigating his own space, carefully avoiding unnecessary exposure. His most recent public appearances have provided a rare look into how he carries himself in high-profile settings. During Donald Trump's presidential campaign, Barron was seen alongside his family at key moments, including rallies and events. While he did not take the stage or make any speeches, his attendance alone was enough to send social media into a frenzy. Many noted how composed he appeared, standing tall next to his father and siblings, yet maintaining a distinct presence of his own. His expressions were calm, and his demeanor remained reserved, traits that have come to define his personality in the public eye. Despite his efforts to stay out of the spotlight, his growing presence at political events has led some to speculate that he might eventually become more involved in his father's political endeavors. Unlike his siblings, who actively engage with the media and participate in campaign efforts, Barron has remained an observer rather than a participant. However, insiders have suggested that he does take an interest in politics and is well informed on current affairs. His mother, Melania Trump, has mentioned that Barron is highly knowledgeable about the political landscape, often engaging in discussions about policy and governance. But while his siblings have used their public platforms to advocate for their father's political vision, Barron has not taken any steps in that direction, at least not publicly. His approach is more analytical, preferring to observe rather than engage directly. Whether this means he will eventually take on a larger role remains to be seen, but for now he appears content staying behind the scenes. Away from politics, Barron's personal interests also set him apart from the rest of his family. While his father and older siblings have built careers in business and media, Barron has developed his own set of passions. One of the few confirmed aspects of his personal life is his deep interest in fashion and personal style. Reports have indicated that he takes great care in selecting his outfits, often opting for tailored clothing that reflects a refined sense of fashion. His tailor has described him as someone who knows exactly what he wants and is particular about details, something that suggests a keen eye for presentation and aesthetics. This interest in fashion, combined with his quiet confidence, has drawn comparisons to his mother, who has long been known for her impeccable style and elegance. Melania has played a significant role in shaping Barron's upbringing, instilling in him a sense of discipline and independence. Unlike Donald Trump, who is known for his bold and outspoken nature, Barron has inherited a more reserved and composed personality, traits that align more closely with his mother's demeanor. Another unique aspect of Barron's life is the way he interacts with those around him. While he is known to be reserved, he is not withdrawn. Those who have met him describe him as polite and well-mannered, engaging in thoughtful conversations when he chooses to speak. A former classmate noted that while Barron kept a low profile at school, he was always approachable and respectful to those around him. His ability to balance privacy with social interactions has made him an intriguing figure, especially considering the level of media scrutiny that comes with his last name. His intelligence and ability to analyze situations have also been highlighted by those who have interacted with him. He is said to be quick-witted, possessing a strong ability to assess people and situations with precision. This has led some to speculate that if he ever decides to enter the public arena, he would do so with a level of strategic thinking that sets him apart from his more outspoken relatives. Despite his reserved nature, Barron has not been immune to public speculation and media attention. Over the years, various rumors and unfounded claims have circulated about him, many of which have been dismissed by his family. His mother, in particular, has been vocal about protecting him from unnecessary scrutiny, ensuring that he is not unfairly dragged into political or media controversies. Melania's protective approach has been evident throughout his upbringing, as she has carefully managed his exposure to the press and limited his public appearances. Even in his teenage years, when many children of high-profile figures began to carve out their own public identities, Barron remained largely out of the spotlight. While other presidential children, such as Malia and Sasha Obama, became well-known figures in their own right, Barron's presence remained minimal. This intentional privacy has contributed to the public's curiosity about him, making every appearance he makes a subject of discussion. Now, as he transitions into adulthood, the question remains, will Barron Trump continue to stay in the background, or will he step into a more public role? His recent appearances suggest that while he is still not actively seeking the spotlight, he is becoming more comfortable with his presence in the public sphere. His body language during public events indicates a level of confidence that was less noticeable in his younger years. Whether this is a sign of future involvement in politics, business, or another field is yet to be determined, but one thing is clear: Barron Trump is no longer just the quiet child standing in the background. He is now an adult, and the choices he makes in the coming years will define how he is perceived by the world. As the youngest member of one of the most influential families in modern American politics, Barron's future is filled with possibilities. While his father and older siblings have set a clear path in politics and business, Barron has the opportunity to forge his own path, free from expectations. Whether he chooses to embrace a public career or maintain his private lifestyle, the fascination with his life is unlikely to diminish. The world will continue to watch, waiting to see what he does next. As Barron Trump continues to navigate life in the public eye, his presence at political events and his increasing visibility have naturally sparked discussions about what role, if any, he will play in the future. Unlike his older siblings, who embraced political and business roles early on, Barron has remained more of an observer, carefully maintaining a level of distance that has only deepened the public's curiosity. His family's influence in American politics is undeniable. His father's presidency reshaped the political landscape, and his older siblings actively supported the campaign, serving as advisors and spokespeople. Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump all played crucial roles in the administration, often appearing in interviews, leading campaign efforts, and building political alliances. Even Tiffany Trump, who stayed relatively out of the political scene during her father's first term, became more publicly involved in recent years. This pattern naturally raises the question, will Barron follow suit? So far, there is no indication that Barron has a strong desire to step into politics. In fact, his most significant political moment so far was when he was selected to serve as an at-large delegate for the Florida Republican Party during the Republican National Convention. However, in a move that surprised many, he declined the role, citing prior commitments. His decision to step away from the opportunity reinforced the idea that, unlike his siblings, he is not in a hurry to engage in political affairs. Melania Trump has always maintained that Barron will make his own decisions regarding his future. She has emphasized that while he is knowledgeable about politics and current events, he has not shown any particular ambition to enter public service. If anything, his decision to decline the delegate position suggests that he is prioritizing other aspects of his life, possibly his education or personal interests. This move was widely discussed, as many expected him to take the same path as his older siblings. But instead of stepping into the spotlight, he once again chose to remain in the background. His selective approach to public appearances and engagements suggests that he is carefully considering how he wants to present himself to the world. Unlike Ivanka and Donald Trump Jr., who have actively cultivated public personas that align with their father's brand, Barron has taken a much more reserved stance. This could be a sign that he is choosing a different path, one that does not necessarily involve politics or media attention. Despite his avoidance of political roles, Barron has been present at key moments in his father's campaign. His attendance at Trump rallies and major events has been noted by the media, with many pointing out how much he has grown both in stature and in confidence. While he does not speak at these events, his presence alone has been enough to generate headlines. The fact that he is now old enough to make his own decisions about whether or not to attend these gatherings suggests that, at the very least, he is keeping a close eye on his family's political affairs. Even though Barron remains elusive, the fascination surrounding him has not faded. With every public appearance, discussions reignite about whether he will eventually take on a more active role in public life. However, it is equally possible that he will continue to chart his own path, separate from the political legacy of his family. Unlike his older siblings, who actively sought out media exposure, Barron seems to prefer a life away from the cameras. If his current trajectory is any indication, Barron Trump's future may look very different from that of his father and siblings. While he has been raised in a household where business and politics dominate, he has yet to show any concrete signs that he will follow the same route. His interests, particularly in business and fashion, suggest that he may choose a career that aligns more with his personal passions rather than the expectations placed upon him due to his last name. As Barron Trump moves forward into adulthood, the choices he makes will shape how he is perceived in the years to come. His upbringing, marked by a mix of privilege, security, and careful media management, has set him apart from other presidential children. Unlike those who have embraced public life early, Barron has maintained a level of distance that has only intensified curiosity about him. His deliberate avoidance of the spotlight raises an important question. Will he ever choose to step into a public role, or will he continue to carve out a private existence away from the expectations that come with his last name? His education could play a significant role in shaping his next steps. Now enrolled at New York University, Barron has access to one of the most prestigious academic environments in the country. While his specific area of study has not been publicly confirmed, it is widely speculated that he is pursuing a degree related to business, following in the footsteps of his father. If this is the case, it could signal an interest in entrepreneurship rather than politics. Unlike his older siblings, who were heavily involved in their father's real estate empire from an early age, Barron has had a different experience. His formative years were spent largely in the background, away from the direct operations of the Trump organization. If Barron does decide to enter the business world, he will have the advantage of learning from one of the most well-known figures in the industry. His father, despite facing numerous controversies, built a real estate empire that remains influential. His siblings, particularly Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, have played key roles in the Trump organization, helping manage its operations and expanding its reach. Ivanka Trump, on the other hand, took a different route, focusing on branding, fashion, and later, politics. Each of them has leveraged the Trump name in different ways, but Barron has yet to indicate how or if he will use it to build his own career. At the same time, it is entirely possible that Barron will choose a path that is unrelated to both business and politics. While his reserved nature might suggest a preference for a quieter life, there have been hints that he possesses a sharp intellect and a deep understanding of current affairs. His ability to remain composed in high-pressure situations, combined with the analytical thinking he is said to possess, could open doors in fields beyond the ones typically associated with his family. Whether this means a career in law, finance, or even academia remains to be seen. While his professional future is uncertain, one thing is clear: Barron's personal life will always be subject to public interest. As the only child of Donald and Melania Trump, he occupies a unique position within the family. While his older siblings have each established their own public personas, Barron remains something of an enigma. His quiet nature, combined with his towering height and composed demeanor, has led many to compare him more to his mother than to his father. Melania's influence on his upbringing has been significant. and she has consistently emphasized the importance of privacy and independence in his life. Her efforts to shield him from unnecessary media exposure have been largely successful, but as he grows older, it will become increasingly difficult to remain out of the public eye. Now that he is an adult, the media will likely pay closer attention to his movements, analyzing his choices and speculating about his next steps. His presence at key political events, even if minimal, will continue to be dissected, and any business or personal decisions he makes will likely make headlines. This level of scrutiny is something that many children of high-profile figures must contend with, but in Barron's case, the interest seems even greater. Perhaps it is because he has remained so silent while the rest of his family has been so vocal. His father's presidency was one of the most controversial in modern history, and his siblings took on active roles in shaping and defending his policies. But Barron has been different. He has remained distant from these discussions, and as a result, he has become a blank slate onto which people project their own expectations and assumptions. The reality, however, is that Barron Trump is still finding his place in the world. Like any young adult, he is at a stage where he is exploring his interests, determining his goals, and deciding how he wants to define himself outside of his family's legacy. While he has the resources and connections to pursue almost any path, the decision will ultimately be his to make. For now, he continues to maintain the quiet, enigmatic presence that has defined him for most of his life. He remains a figure of speculation rather than direct engagement, someone who is watched but rarely heard. Whether that will change in the future is unknown, but one thing is certain: whatever path he chooses, the world will be watching. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.